If you focus on progress, it is unbelievable the amount of joy, optimism, happiness that you come to work with every day if you measure backwards. Whereas if I come to work every day measuring forwards, what I want and where I want to go, and you measure yourself that way, you're going to be pretty disappointed.
By measuring forward, I'm in a state of dissatisfaction because I haven't achieved the thing that's in the future. When I measure backwards, I'm in a state of gratitude because I'm thankful for how far I've come.
Yes.
At every juncture, it sounds like you have a choice. So you get hired, you can say, oh gosh, like I just started, I have so much to do, like I don't know what I'm doing, I just got here. State of dissatisfaction, measuring forward. Or I'm so thankful I have this job, I didn't have a job before, or I didn't love my last job and I love this new company. State of gratitude.
Yes. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Wisdom of Wrench podcast. I'm Kevin Comerford, and I've got my co-host, Amanda Meyer.
Hello, humans.
So good. So good to be here today. So good to be with Amanda. Super excited about today's show. Today is a culture episode where we're going to be talking about a foundational principle inside of Wrench. And I'm really excited today because really looking forward to this because this foundational principle is all about happiness. It's all about joy. It's all about things that you can do to find continuous happiness. Because I believe, Amanda, excuse me, happiness is a skill.
That was a good intro. You've got a captive audience now. Everyone wants to learn happiness.
Yeah, yes. Happiness is a skill, and I believe you have to practice it daily.
Yes.
So the foundational principle that we're going to talk about is measure backwards. Measure backwards. As I mentioned, this foundational principle is designed to help people find joy, help people to find satisfaction, help people to stay optimistic, help people to live a life where they are in a state of gratitude. And it's as simple as measuring backwards. I need to give you a little bit of context about this beautiful gift that we've been given called your brain. Our brain can be both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because it's a tool that we can use to get things accomplished. It's a tool that we can use that'll help us build great relationships. Our brain is a goal-seeking device. All it wants to do is achieve, is succeed, is, okay, I accomplished this. Now your mind automatically wants to go and achieve something else. It is a goal-seeking device. Now, I've said this in prior podcasts, but I'm a big believer that your brain is separate from Kevin. There's Kevin, the soul that is Kevin, and there's also Kevin's brain. And you have to separate those two. The brain is a tool. I control that. Mm-hmm. I'm in charge of that. Rather than letting your brain be in charge of me. And just, because my brain, if I just let it go, it says dumb shit all the time. It says dumb stuff. It says dumb stuff in my mind. It wants to take me downhill. Most of the stuff it says to me is pretty negative.
We are our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's separate from me. So I'm in charge of it. So this concept, I was just saying that our brain is both a blessing because it helps us set new goals, helps us achieve, helps us through hard times. It also can be a curse that can create a ton of anxiety, that can create a ton of uncomfortable feelings, stress, It can create this, and it's all how you measure yourself.
Okay. I'm with you so far.
It's all about how you measure yourself.
Okay.
If I measure forward, I will be in a state of anxiety. I will be in a state of dissatisfaction. I will be in a state of unhappiness. If I measure backwards, there's a ton of optimism, a ton of joy, a ton of satisfaction. Let me explain a little bit further. And let me maybe use a story to help explain it. Let's say I'm a call center agent, okay, and I'm working in the call center. And I get hired by Service Champions. And it is like, I am so excited. Or I get hired by Baker Brothers. Or I get hired by Morris Jenkins, one of the wonderful companies inside of Wrench, okay? I get hired by that company. And I'm so happy about that day because I've really wanted this job. I've really wanted to work here. I've been at it for a long time. I really see that this is going to help me financially. And I get into the job. And I start progressing. And, 2 months, 3 months into it, I start having some challenges, which are very normal. And I achieve new things. Maybe I make it through the 90-day probation period if they have one. Okay, maybe I make it through that. And I'm seeing other agents around me that are succeeding, that are achieving. And I want to be that. I want to achieve what they're achieving, which that's our mind. The beautiful thing about our mind is it constantly wants to achieve more. No matter what you've succeeded at, it automatically goes and it creates what I call a new ideal in your mind. And it's only in your mind. It's a mental construct. The ideal is only in your mind. Now, if I'm constantly measuring myself forward with where I want to be, that's the measure forward. That's going to create a ton of anxiety. It's going to put me in a place of perfection. It's going to put me in a place of dissatisfaction because I'm never going to be there. Because what is there? What's going to happen is I'm going to go and work at Morris Jenkins, say another 6 months. And maybe I advance to a call center agent level 2. Okay. My mind is going to do what, Amanda? What's it going to do?
It's going to set a new ideal.
It's going to set a new ideal. It's going to set a new goal. It's natural. Thank goodness. That is a blessing. It is very normal for your brain to set another goal out there. And now I have a choice. Am I going to measure myself against that new ideal and be upset that I want that call center agent level 3? Why does that person there get all the great calls when they come in? I want to be able to schedule appointments for salespeople, whatever that means, whatever call center agent level 3, whatever that next step is. Versus, Amanda, if I measure backwards, if I go through an exercise and just measure backwards, measure where I came from, remind myself what it was like when I was so excited and joyful to get the job at Morris Jenkins. Measure backwards. And maybe it's measuring backwards from where I am today. If I'm a call center agent level 2, measure backwards from where I was at my 90-day evaluation period, when that was up, and I was maybe a call center agent number 1, measure backwards, measure how far I've come. And that is what's called focusing on progress. If you focus on progress, it is unbelievable the amount of joy, optimism, happiness that you come to work with every day if you measure backwards. Whereas if I come to work every day measuring forwards, what I want and where I want to go, and you measure yourself that way, you're going to be pretty disappointed.
Okay, let me see if I can distill this a little bit.
Yeah.
So by measuring forward, I'm in a state of dissatisfaction because I haven't achieved the thing that's in the future. When I measure backwards, I'm in a state of gratitude because I'm thankful for how far I've come.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So at every juncture, it sounds like you have a choice. So you get hired, you can say, oh gosh, like I just started, I have so much to do. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just got here. State of dissatisfaction, measuring forward. Or I'm so thankful I have this job. I didn't have a job before, or I didn't love my last job and I love this new company. State of gratitude.
Yes.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing about measure backwards, it's a mental exercise that you can do anytime. Just the same way, Amanda, that we go into the gym and perform an exercise doing a curl.
Got to get the reps in.
Yeah, your mind needs to be exercised to stay healthy. And the best way that I have found to keep my mind strong, to keep my mind moving in the direction that I want it to be, is to make sure that I'm measuring backwards.
Okay.
And in a minute, I want to share a daily exercise that I do every single day. So to measure backwards so that I now can move forward in a very productive, excited, energetic type of way.
Okay. Let's stop. Let's stop and look backwards for a second.
Okay.
So I have to know, because I love origin stories.
Yeah.
When did this first become present in your life? Because we have our core value, our 5th core value, which talks about measuring backwards. And you always say, this core value is for me. This one's for me. So tell me, where did this come from? Where is this from in your life?
So I have been to an entrepreneur class since 1996. It's called Strategic Coach. And imagine, if you would, for a second, there is a group of 40 entrepreneurs, incredibly successful entrepreneurs by anybody's standard, certainly by anybody's financial standard. I'm in this class. There's certain levels where you have to make 100,000, you have to make 250,000, or you have to make $1 million to be in some of the classes annually.
I already see that measuring forward.
Yeah.
You're stacking up the story real well.
Yeah, you have to earn a certain amount in order to be in a certain class.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm in this group. I'm in this room with these entrepreneurs, and I have to tell you, Amanda, these are some of the most miserable people I've ever met in my life.
Oh.
They have everything going for them. You would think everything going for them from the outside. They've got incredible wealth. They've got boats and houses and everything that you could think, yet they are living a life that is miserable. And Dan Sullivan, who is the leader of the class, gets up in the front of the room, and he talks about why is it that even when you're some of the most successful people, as maybe society would measure it, that you could still be in this unhappy place. You could still have a ton of anxiety. And he goes through and talks about how the brain works, which is, even though you've achieved so much, even though you have a house in Italy, even though you have a yacht, your mind is always going to create new things and new adventures that you want to go on. And if you measure yourself against this new ideal versus measuring backwards, you're going to live in a state of misery.
Okay.
The ideal, Amanda, if I can help share it a little bit further, the ideal is like the horizon. Like imagine if you were
chasing the
in
horizon.
a desert. Yeah, imagine if you're in a desert and it's a flat desert and you see the horizon. And I'm talking about where the sky comes down and meets the ground or meets the mountain, whatever. And you start walking towards that horizon, right? I'm going to walk 4 miles on this flat desert. I'm going to walk 4 miles and I'm going to be 4 miles ahead. But what still looks far out there?
The horizon.
The horizon. I'm never able to accomplish it. The horizon is this ideal. The horizon is this mental construct that our mind creates after we achieve something.
Okay.
And understanding that and having an awareness for that is what what truly measure backwards means. Meaning, if I walk that 4 miles, right, look backwards how far I've come. Measure backwards and look at the progress that you've made.
So Andrew, I want your take on this as someone who's very involved with fitness. This is a lot of psychology. Do you understand this measuring backwards? What's your take on this?
I'm loving the conversation, first and foremost. Second, hello, everybody. First time being on the podcast. I'm the guy behind the computer over here. But no, what you guys are talking about is something that I actually found naturally. Let me move over here so I can see you, Kevin. I've actually had a hard time with like reading and like following instructions the way you're supposed to in a linear fashion. Unbeknownst to me, I have dyslexia and I like couldn't understand why books were always so tricky for me to read outside of like, maybe some like ADHD or something going on there. But what I found was the first time that I noticed this was, those maps or those, what are they called? Like the mazes on the back of like a kid's menu at like Denny's. What's the easiest way to accomplish those things?
Start at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Had to change the camera. You start at the end and you work your way backwards. That is basically the blueprint for everything if you want to accomplish it. What you were talking about on a previous episode, how, if you wanted to make, 10 million, you would go find a company, figure it out, and then work your way there. You didn't assume or you didn't think, I want to make 10 million. Let me just get there. It's like, no, you saw it and you worked your way backwards. So that's kind of how I have seen a lot of things. And this is what I thought the whole conversation was going to be centered around, but you kind of took it in a different way. And it's something that I know I personally need to work on. But the question was like kind of like about like fitness and that sort of thing.
I know you're so familiar with that world, and I have to imagine that it can be difficult to remember to measure backwards.
Oh, it's impossible for people.
Yeah.
Myself included, but especially for people that are going for like a weight loss journey, right? What do? They jump on the scale every day. It's not moving. Or they lost a pound or two this week, and then next week it's gone up. It's like, yeah, but, you're looking at the horizon right now. But if you take a step back, turn around, but I've actually lost 3-4 inches off my waist. It's like you're focused on the wrong thing. You're focused on that horizon. But if you can just, like Kevin said, turn around and be like, dude, these measurements actually look pretty good. My pants are fitting me kind of loose right now. Right. And it's very difficult for people to, do that, to just essentially like stop, turn around and be like, but look at how far I've come.
I like that. Don't focus on the number, focus on how you feel.
Yeah. Oh,
Checking
that's
in with,
gigantic.
with how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm digging the conversation right now for, multiple reasons. But the main one for myself personally is I am that person that will, I'm going to have to paraphrase what you said earlier, which is I'm going to I get to a new level and then that ideal changes. And then I'm back to scratching and clawing to try to get to that next thing. And You know,
Yeah.
again, like I kind of trap myself in my studio and I keep working my face off and I don't see the sun and, you know, I don't know when, like, you know, what time of day it is. And then I get sick or something and, you know, I kind of keep spiraling out of control that way,
Yeah.
thinking I'm like, oh, but you're crushing it, bro. Like, look at all the business you're, you know, accomplishing and signing and that sort of thing. But if I just stopped and been like, but bro, you're doing the thing that you dreamt about, you know, like that's pretty freaking cool too.
It's great.
What a good example of measuring backwards.
And that's
Yeah.
stuff I got
Yeah.
to work on.
It's
you know?
huge.
Yeah.
Well, so and thank you, Andrew. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Because what you're talking about, we all deal with. It happens to every single one of us. The wonderful thing is, and what I think this podcast is designed to do, is to just make people aware that this is how your brain works. If nothing else, we get it out there that, okay, this is what Kevin was talking about. My mind, because I like to call these two different things, and it's Dan Sullivan's words.
Mm-hmm.
When you fall into that negative zone, you fall into what's called the gap. And when you measure backwards, you are in the gain. And so you can never be in both the gap and the gain at the same time. You're always in one place or the other.
If I'm thinking about the gap to where I want to be, I'm living in the gap. I'm living in a place of dissatisfaction.
100%.
Versus if I'm measuring myself from where I was, I'm living in the gain. I'm in a place of gratitude.
Yes.
Gratitude for the gain.
Yes. The other big thing, well, there's so many good things about this. I love it. The other thing about this is if you measure yourself against an ideal, you probably measure other people in your life against an ideal,
Interesting.
whether it be your children, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your other relatives or your friends. And you've got to be really careful that you're making sure you're measuring them and measuring their progress rather than perfection. Because it can be really challenging. Your son or daughter could be achieving and doing well. And if you're always focused on what's next for them and the next goal rather than looking back, it can be really hard on them. It can be really challenging on them. And we do it. We do it to ourselves. We do it to our spouses. And this, again, what my hope is today is that all we create here is just an awareness. So everybody knows that, okay, am I in the gap or am I in the gain? Because we want to stay in the gain. And if I fall into the gap, which guess what? As quick as this podcast is over, there will be a time today that I'm going to fall into the gap. I will fall into the gap. Let me assure you. What I will be, though, is I will be aware that, okay, Kevin, you're in the gap. You now need to do that mental exercise to get yourself out of the gap. It's like eating a piece of sugar. Okay, I just ate sugar. I now need to exercise and get myself and my brain and my mind in that healthy place.
It's so easy to do that too. It's so easy to do it and not do it.
Yes.
Right? It's all about the choice that you make.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got a question for you, Kevin.
Yes.
Because I've actually struggled with this really bad to the point where
Can I just change something?
Yeah.
Say, I've really struggled with this up to now.
I'm leaving that in, by the way. We're not editing that out. I've struggled with this up until now.
Yes.
And in the past, a previous version of myself, I would be a team lead or I'd have a crew of like photographers, videographers with me. And I didn't understand when somebody would talk about burnout. I didn't understand when people wanted to take a break. All I knew is that there was a task that needed to be accomplished, and I was going to take care of that no matter what, if I had all the help or no help. When somebody wouldn't they weren't up to snuff is what I would say. And maybe I was putting that ideal on them. I thought significantly less than that employee at that time, which now I see is like just way off. So as somebody who would be like a team lead or a manager, right? They're a seasoned vet maybe. They've seen a lot of people come and go. They've seen a lot of goats stick around. How do you lead a team without putting your ideal on somebody else that isn't even close to where, a veteran or somebody that's just been around a long time, like they're not even close to where they are. How can they still be not judgmental, but also like, hey, like, but we do got to pick up the pace a little bit here and there, right? Like, how does somebody manage those expectations?
Such a good question. Because we have, like you said, Andrew, you probably had high achievers on your team, and you might have had new people. And so you had different expectations for the different people, right? I've always believed that the level of appreciation must exceed the level of expectation. So as long as the level of appreciation exceeds the level of expectation, your emotional bank account with that person will be really good. And I think Amanda's a great example. I have very high expectations for Amanda, much higher expectations for Amanda than a lot of other team members, and have had that for a long time and have seen her progress for 14 years and do so well. So my expectation was always really high for Amanda. Way higher than with most people. But as long as my appreciation and the level of gratitude and acknowledgement that I give Amanda regularly is greater than my expectation, she and I are going to be good.
Do you have a practice? Because what if somebody is on the poop list because they're just not, something's not clicking, something's not right? How can you, like, is there a practice for showing gratitude and that sort of thing when somebody is just like, oh my gosh, this guy's just not getting it, man? How do you deal with that?
You're bringing up such good questions that I feel are so pertinent.
I know what I would do for someone on my team.
I would love to hear you. I would love, please, Amanda.
The first exercise that I always go through when I have a struggling team member is I seek out the appreciation. I seek gratitude. What are the things that I am really thankful for this person? Because in most cases, if you have a struggling team member, you want them to succeed, right? Like you want them to get better. You want good for them. So what are the things that I appreciate about that person? I go and I seek always as specific as I can get. Be specific to be terrific. Mm-hmm. I go and I seek the appreciation that I have for that person. And I always make sure I express that to them. And then I ask the what action question. What is it that I can do to help us achieve what we collectively want to achieve? I appreciate these things about you. Here are the things that I believe make you great. Here's the place that we want to be. What can I do? What are the actions that I can help you with? And it all comes back to, abundancy and scarcity, right? Which is if I believe that there's enough for everyone, then if we take action and we have the right mindset, we can then go and achieve it. Continuously remembering that we have to appreciate where we were and where we are now.
I love that. I'd like to add something to that.
Give me the cherry on top.
I also learned that if I know I have the right person, now in the example that you just gave, if it's not the right person, right, or maybe they're new, or that's a totally different situation. But if I know I've got the right person, there's never any reason for me to ever seek blame. Like if there's been a mistake, or if maybe they didn't get accomplished what they said they were going to get accomplished. I don't ever have to seek blame if they're the right person. I need to seek understanding. So I go to them out of curiosity to say, hey, so share with me what was it that got in your way? What was it? Where if I go to seek understanding, I then will I'll be in such a better place to understand what they were going through. Where what can be my natural tendency is if somebody, comes short on a deadline, I want to seek blame. It's like the third time this has happened. Why do we keep going through this? Like that's a very natural tendency. My unnatural tendency is to be like, whoa, stop. Get out of your reptilian mode brain, Kevin. Slow down. Rather than react, stop, think, then act. And to me, stop, think, then act is, okay, I need to seek understanding because I'm gonna approach this conversation with curiosity. And then I'm also gonna do what Amanda said, and she was spot on. I'm going to take personal responsibility. Like, what is it that we have to do? What is it that I can do to help you achieve the goal of getting our project done by Wednesday when you said in the future? What is it that I need to do? Well, maybe if you reminded me more on Tuesday. Great. I'll remind you more on Tuesday. Now I have an action. Now I have some responsibility. Amanda's so spot on with regards to finding the good. Look for the good, because there is always good. Practice finding the good rather than, and by the way, this just works so well with children. Seek the good, find the good things they're doing. And if you believe John Wooden, he always believed that if you're going to find the bad, find the negative, you better find 4 things. 4-to-1 ratio was how John Wooden, and John Wooden is the most famous NCAA basketball coach of all time for the UCLA Bruins. He won 10 championships in a row. His mantra was 4-to-1. Find 4 good things about someone before you bring up one gift that you're going to give them. Area of where they can improve. Now, is it like, hey, Joe, you're doing this, and this right, and this needs improvement? It's never like that, but it's all just through the course of the day, through the course of the month, the 4-to-1 ratio. Find the good.
I really like that. I like that a lot better than what I was coached on, and it was called a poop sandwich, using different terms, of course. But it was like compliment the issue that you're having, and
yes.
like kind of a coaching moment followed by another compliment.
The compliment sandwich. Yeah. I know exactly
Maybe
what
that's what it's called, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Compliment sandwich. My bad. I just got stuck
It could be
on
a
that
shit
term.
sandwich. It's fine.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, what you were saying is like, taking responsibility. One thing that did help me get out of that, I guess I'll say like kind of issue with a couple of people was, Jocko Willink with extreme ownership, right? Mm-hmm. Everything now is like, the reason why this guy's tired is my fault. Even though, it's like he probably, stayed up late last night and has a, poor diet or whatever. But it's like, oh, maybe it's my fault. I didn't prep him to tell him, hey, we got a long shoot tomorrow. Like, you got to be ready to go. So, yeah, all of this is going to be super helpful. And if you're listening and you're digging the episode, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you're not already. And if you're on YouTube, drop a comment and let us know what gem you appreciated the most, because that does so much for the podcast. We sincerely appreciate you.
Oh, Andrew,
This guy.
love it. Love it. Great to have you a part of this. So good.
Grateful to be here.
So good. So we talked about this measuring backwards.
Yes.
And how this applies to work and the call center agent. And
Yes.
this is the measure backwards certainly applies to both our personal lives as well.
Happiness applies to everything. I very much so tend to agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
You said you had an exercise that you do.
Yes.
Let's go to that.
Okay. So this is something I started back in 2009.
Okay.
And it is something that I've done every day. since then. Maybe I've missed a few days, but very, very rarely do I miss a day. What I do every single morning is I wake up and I write down, where did I win? What were the 3 or 4, sometimes 5 wins from the previous day? What went well yesterday? And it could be as simple as something like, I got in the pool and I swam for 45 minutes. Gosh, it felt great. And I write out like how it felt, how my body felt. It could be, an appointment that I had with a counselor or whatever, maybe a counselor with my daughter. We had a great appointment. We talked about where Emily's headed and the progress that she's making in her journey. We set some great actions, and I just feel really great. So it is a list of wins that I write out every single day. And what that does for me, and I always do it in the morning, I wake up at about 5 in the morning. One of the first things I do is pull out my journal. I write my wins from the previous day. And by the way, I keep in my journal, I'll make notes of what happened the previous day. So it's really easy for me to see what went on in my day, and I'm able to reflect, and because I keep everything in this journal. So it's my life. I used to be a person that had all kinds of papers and notepads everywhere, scattered everywhere. I was the most disorganized person until I came across this concept of keeping everything in this one book, in this one journal. So I'll write these wins every day. And what that does is that just creates a tremendous amount of confidence inside of me, satisfaction inside of me, joy, and more importantly, creativity. Because now I'm saying, okay, what did go right yesterday? Because you can scale positive things. You can't scale negative things.
Tell me what that means.
You can.
Yeah.
So I write down, I had a great meeting with the counselor. Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe there's now some follow-up that I'm going to do today on it. Meaning when I write my wins, what went well yesterday, it's actually the raw material that I'm going to use to create my wins for today.
Oh, okay.
So it's an exercise where you look back, measure backwards, before you accelerate forward into the day. So it's a 2-part exercise that allows me to, again, gain a lot of creativity, a lot of confidence, shake off the cobwebs that maybe I had from the night before, or from the night before, from waking up, just the cobwebs that come when you're getting up in the morning. And now, once I do that measure backwards exercise, boom, I'm ready now to say, okay, what do I want to achieve today? What are my goals? What are my 3 to 5 goals that I want to achieve today? And I'm super excited. I'm ready to attack the day. But it started with measuring backwards.
I like that. That's so you can scale your wins because you're helping create momentum for yourself.
Yes.
I had to do that to myself this morning. This is when I talk about seeking gratitude.
Yeah.
So I'm at the gym.
Yeah.
And I'm running. I love to run. And I just started going back to the gym. It was tough. I kept making excuses for myself why I couldn't go to the gym. The baby and everything you tell yourself, right? No excuses. I go back to the gym and I'm running and I keep having to turn down the treadmill to run slower and slower. And I'm getting so annoyed with myself. Every time I hit that down button, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. I finally cap out at like 2 miles, which for me is,
yes,
is not that much. And I'm just annoyed. I'm like, I ran 11-minute miles and I only ran 2 miles. And I'm getting so upset with myself. And I remember stepping off the treadmill and just thinking, okay, you're done. Like you ran 2 miles. And I had to go through this exercise in my head where I went, you know what? You ran 2 miles. You're fit enough to run 2 miles, Amanda. Like, great job. Like, you were able to get that done. You took a long break and you were still able to come back. I'm very healthy. I'm really thankful for that. And then I thought to myself, you know what? Spend the rest of the day stretching. Make sure you feel good tomorrow morning so that you can do better tomorrow. And I literally had to do that to myself this morning, standing in the gym.
Perfect.
Because I needed to be in the right mindset.
That is a wonderful example. So pertinent because once again, as great as you are, as fit as you are, as you're getting back to the gym.
Yeah.
It is natural for us to fall into the gap.
Yeah.
And to
So
have
easy.
an exercise,
Yeah.
to have a mental exercise to be able to get you out and to be able to actually share this mental exercise, because these are things that your kids aren't getting taught.
Right. You have to identify it. And no one really teaches you there's no class that teaches you how to identify when you have a negative mindset.
Yeah, yes.
You really have to self-monitor it. It's tough.
Yes, yes.
Which is why when you say happiness is a skill, I can't agree more. It's so true. You have to continue to get the reps in to practice identifying when you need to go to a place of gratitude.
Yes. Yeah. Amanda, so to wrap up this episode, I think it's really important to remember that the brain that we have is such a beautiful thing. It's both a blessing and a curse. And as long as we understand how it is a blessing, meaning it is a goal-seeking device, and it can be a curse if we measure ourselves against perfection, against the fact that our brain constantly wants to be this goal-seeking device. It wants to achieve the next thing. If we understand that we measure backwards in order to live in the positive zone, in order to have gratitude, we measure backwards if we want to put our children and our spouse in the positive zone. And we want them to feel confident and give them confidence. Whereas if we measure them against this ideal, against the horizon, you're going to strip them of their confidence. Just like it strips me of my confidence when I'm in the gap. Mm-hmm. And I've said this many times, I'll say it again. I believe our number one responsibility as high achievers is to protect our personal confidence. And how do you do that? Mental exercises to measure backwards. Mental exercises that allow you to stay in that optimistic mind frame.
I love it. A whole podcast about happiness.
Yes.
What a great day.
Yes. Keep in mind that happiness is a skill.
Yes.
That we got to work at and practice daily, like you did this morning at the gym.
Yes.
You got to practice it daily and be okay. Be nice to that little girl inside Amanda when she does beat herself up, because it's very normal.
Yeah.
It's very natural. You're normal, Amanda.
Thank you. This is the first time I'm hearing that. I appreciate it.
And you're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay. So as I end every single one of these podcasts, I am always a person that's looking to make my future bigger than my past. So team, here's to a bigger future. Thank you very much.